Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe where we help and heal one day at a time. So, was this love real? A lot of us ruminate trying to figure out what went wrong. Uh, the main thing is was it really real? Did they try to hurt us on purpose? And there's different levels of narcissism. Sometimes it is purposeful just to get what they can get. But if you were in a long term relationship with a narcissist, often the love bombing was true. They wanted to be with you. They really desired you. So there's certain things that you do to make sure that you get the prize. So they try harder than your average person would. They make, grand gestures. They give you lots of attention, kind of to tie up your time so you're not talking to somebody else. So squeaky wheel gets the grease or whatever. And it just they kind of bombard you, and it feels good because you like them too. Usually with their fake self-confidence, confidence is very attractive, so they know how to portray it. It's just an act, but we get addicted to that and we just feel so good. We're on an emotional high. So as far as the depth of their love, it's basically just the desire. They desired to be with you. They wanted you. And once they had you, um, little things just started to irritate them because it made them look inside themselves. Um, and made them question things. And so they would start to devalue us. It just made them feel better. It's kind of like they don't know exactly how to handle the situation. Sometimes they don't even know what to say, but they'll start questioning things like, "Why did you do that way? Um, why why can't you turn the toothpaste this way? Why can't you fix the cans this way? Why do you do this?" And they start to like put you down in a sense just by the way they say it, because they could be asking like, "Oh, why did you do that way?" Like they're trying to learn, but the way they say it is like, "What's wrong with you? You are so different. There's something wrong with you. Nobody else would do that way." And you start to question your own reality, like, did should I be doing this different? Like, does it really matter how I cut my bread for my sandwich? Like, and then you start walking on eggshells. Like, I don't want them getting upset, or I don't want to get yelled at because they cut the crust off. So I'm just going to eat the crust. And then they get a power over us. And normally in a loving relationship, you let things slide, you encourage each other. But the love that they have is more of a desire. It was a desire to get what they wanted. So they didn't purposely set out to hurt you if you were in a long-term relationship. They just got the prize. And then any little things that went wrong started to irritate them. Like they worked really hard for this prize. And they did it for what they wanted, what they needed. They didn't even consider really what you wanted. They gave you what you wanted to capture you. So they know how to play the game, but their whole intent was not to interact and have a deep, open uh, communication, loving relationship. It was, this person's going to fulfill my needs. And they give a little bit because, uh, we say please uh, because we have a better chance to get what we want. So it's just like them. Like they will give what they need to get what they want. It's kind of a game in a sense. And then once things start to fall apart, usually when you love each other, you work through things, but they don't have that uh, coping skills to work through things. They shut down, they tune you out, which makes it harder. Because a lot of times, if you nip it in the bud, things can progress and get better. But they will gaslight you, make you feel very, very confused. No answers are ever answered succinctly. So you're confused, and then it causes you to start being upset, to become more needy. The last thing that they want is somebody needy. They want somebody who is always perfect, always happy, always on top of things. Um, but you cannot be better than them in a sense, because they want the attention. They will make you feel very uncomfortable. And whether you talked with your girlfriends or guy friends at a party, you weren't giving them the attention when they thought they should have it. But of course, they don't even tell you that they wanted you to stand by their side. Or you're standing there and they're irritated, like, why can't you just go do your own thing? This is my time with my friends. They don't communicate the right way. So anything you do ends up uh, causing them to see us in a different light, because we don't know what they're thinking. And we ask what they're thinking, because we just want a loving relationship. We're willing to work through things. There's times we need things like, can't I just hang out with you and your friends? Um, and then they get irritated by that. They're not like, yeah, I guess, sure. I'd like you by my side. There are times that we have to give people their space. So that's where it's really hard trying to maintain a relationship with a narcissist, because we have needs too. And when they love bomb us, it feels like love because they go above and beyond. And usually, when you love someone, you go above and beyond for them. It happens quickly. It's like this whirlwind catches us, sweeps us off our feet. Uh, and then as time goes by, um, it honestly is one little tiny thing that'll just change the way they look at you. And it could be something from your past that you brought up. All of a sudden, that's something that eats away at them. And then all of a sudden, you know, um, they have disgust for you. And it's really hard to swallow that some little things, and it's usually something so minute. It's not like you did some crazy stuff. Um, it just sends them into this tailspin of devaluation, to where they can't cope with it. You're not in their eyes maintaining what they expected. They expected somebody not to share their emotional feelings, because when you even say the littlest things like, can't we just talk, then they feel that they messed up in the relationship. They're not doing something right, and they can't handle the feeling that maybe they did something wrong, or maybe something needs to be adjusted, because it's taking accountability. It's taking time. They don't want to take the time. They just want everything perfect. And as you go through a narcissistic relationship, it starts to get really, really hard, because, if you try to ask them something, they don't want to communicate. They just want things perfect. But when things aren't perfect, you kind of, it's so easy to work through things. You can even ask them what they want. But by you asking something, they already feel it's kind of like that narcissistic injury. Like, oh, we have to talk about things. Obviously, I'm not doing something right. But they have to feel that they're right all the time. And so in the beginning, there's no baggage, there's no need to communicate, because usually in the beginning of a relationship, you don't expect the person every Friday to see you. It takes a little bit of time. And then you get into the routine of, oh, we're going to spend our weekends together. And then um, it's just kind of falls into place. So when you're in the relationship, um, you have expectations. You can't have expectations when you first meet somebody. You have to back off. You have to let, if they have something else going on Friday, you have to understand, they haven't made their decision if they're going to be with you yet. But as time goes by, they made their decision and they won their prize. So they just want to put it on the wall. They just want to look at it or enjoy it or hold it when they want. If they have a need to feel proud, they'll go take it off that shelf. And it's really confusing when they start getting in these long-term relationships, because everything is going really good. They'll stick out the bad times, but it's because of the narcissistic supply. Like, they end up not caring what kind of supply it is. It's like the adrenaline and the fuel. Sometimes they'll have that adrenaline rush. In the beginning, it was over the um, love bombing, because there's more desire instead of love. But that's an adrenaline rush. Can I get her or can I get him? Will they be mine? And so it's like exciting. And then as time goes by, you have the thing. So what's going to be exciting? What's going to get that adrenaline pumping? Um, You can have happy times, you can do things, but with them, it's never enough. So you had a great picnic. That was nice. Man, something was still missing. You had great sex. And in the moment, that was great. But then, you know, time goes by and you didn't make the right breakfast, or the breakfast was burnt. So they're mad. And, the love that they had for you is a desire. They desired to be with you. And is that desire still there? They'll hoover. They'll hoover back as soon as you start rebuilding yourself, um, because they knocked us down. And it's so sad because all of it could have been avoided if we didn't get confused. I know a lot of you have tried to understand, and sometimes we have a lot of guilt. Like, what did we do wrong? Because, you got to understand there's two people in a relationship, and maybe we snap back, or maybe we shouldn't have asked. They just came home from work. Should I have given them some more time? Now I really irritated them. Um, and that's why these relationships, trying to understand them, all the rumination we go through, because, our feeling of love is love, and we hurt and we ache. We try to understand and wish things could have been different. And some of us still want things to happen. Some of us are waiting for that Hoover. And sometimes you might get back together, but whether they're with a new supply or come back to you, um, they repeat their patterns. They repeat their patterns. So you might have that love feeling again. They might come back. They might hoover you because the supply was low. The new supply didn't work out, or he or she got pissed off and left. So they come back to what's easy. And, you know, there's times like you think about it, it's like, what would I do? I didn't want to break up with that person. And would you go back to them? So you feel like, am I narcissistic? And it's not narcissistic to want to be back with somebody, but with them, um, they could drop us at the drop of a hat and not look back. And then when they're bored or lonely, that's when they come back. It's not like, man, we messed up. I'd like to work through this. Given it some time. They had a relationship that fell apart. Maybe there's time for us to work it out. But they just can't be alone. They don't take that downtime. So if they do come back to you, think about how much time went by. How much time went by from when they broke up with their new supply that didn't work out, and how quickly they came back to you. Because if they were that with that new supply for a while, you think they'd be like at least sad about it for a while. And then maybe they could come back, you guys could work out, but they never process the things. They just go relationship to relationship. They bring their baggage. And the frustrating part, you'll hear on all these YouTube channels how they're treating the new supply better because they learned from us. And that's what really hurts. Like, why didn't you do that with me? Sometimes they want to hurt us. Like, oh, you always wanted to go to Florida. Well, I'm taking the new supply to Florida and I'll post it on Facebook. Sometimes it's for revenge. Sometimes it's to show off. But we taught them how to be better with the new supply. But they're not going to change. And they do miss people. But it's more of the supply. They miss how easy things were, or they miss certain things that we did. Um, they do feel pain, but it's in a different way. They do feel love, but in a different way. It's not a true love. Um, it's not the unconditional love that two partners should have. We all have needs, so that's where the unconditional comes a little confusing. Like, whose turn is it? But usually you work through that. Sometimes it works out perfectly. Sometimes it might be a little unfair, but it's always good-hearted. But with a narcissist, they lose the good-hearted part. They don't put their whole soul into it. If their needs aren't getting supplied, then we're seen as less than a value. And as we try to communicate with them, that's that's when they devalue us even more. And if you notice the patterns of the way that they talk to us, there is a difference. There's a difference. And that's the red flags that people keep talking about. Sometimes it's so subtle, the way they say it, because just like, why are you doing that? But they'll look at you like with an odd face, and they'll say it with a, an not an unkind, but not a loving tone. Um, as opposed to, why are you doing that? Why do you do it that way? They're like, what's wrong with you? And so it starts to eat at our soul, because we want people, like, it's okay we do things different, but you don't want people looking at you like you're a piece of trash because you cut, I don't know, the crust off your sandwich. And it'll happen in little things by little things by little things. Why couldn't you get the laundry done? Why didn't you do this? Basically, why didn't you serve me? As opposed to, hey, do you want some help? Or, oh, I threw the laundry, and since I threw the laundry, and do you mind taking the trash out tomorrow? Like, they don't communicate the right way. Um, it's all about, did you do things the way I expected you? So they desired whatever supply you provided, whether it was your status in life, um, your smiles, your beauty. Um, so have peace in your heart that you were truly desired, because sometimes it hurts. Like, what happened? Do I even cross their mind? Will they ever regret what they did to me? And sometimes they may look back. They may look back. My ex was like, I treated basically both of them. I treated you pretty bad. All right. So they had this recollection, but nothing changes. So if you're going to work out a relationship with a narcissist, they may act different, but they won't feel different. And it's going to be a struggle for them, where they fight back these demons. They just want to be them. They just want their needs. And they're going to start resenting you, because they'll feel that all they're doing is putting into you. And they don't understand the balance, the sacrifices that both parties need to make. Um, my ex was basically, he had said that my family, my current girlfriend, they all know, and my children, they all know it's all about me. And to even say that, like, talk about self-centeredness. And he's now engaged. This is a person, even my current girlfriend, fiance now, they know it's all about me. So he's in the height of his relationship, and he's still saying, they know it's all about me. That's a pretty powerful statement. Because sometimes as time goes by, relationships fall apart. But when you, this was like 3 months before they got engaged, and they've been together like 5 years. So to say that about your partner that you live with, they know it's all about me. Plus, he's still talking to me. You know, their love is just self-fulfilling. Whatever they gave us was to win us. Um, they studied us. They figured out what we liked so they could get what they wanted. And they just wanted the supply from us. And once our energy level went down because they didn't talk to us, or if they did talk to us, they were demeaning to us, or talked in circles, or lied to us so we didn't know what reality was. They devalued us, and we tried to work around it, which makes us even less valuable. So part of it is, you know, in a sense, we kind of went with the flow, kind of helped it fall apart. But to take blame for that, like, that's not fair for us to take blame. When we tried, because I know with me, there was times like, I know I'm being an idiot. I just want to know if you're alive or dead. Tell me fuck off if that's what you want. Just communicate with me, you know. And we're supposed to be together, and you just get ghosted, and you can't get closure from them. because they always want that open door. They are so scared of not having supply. As they get older, they may come to more of a realization. Sometimes they say that narcissists get worse with age. Um, Angry people or needy people, or they just don't handle things the right way. But sometimes they come to a realization, not that they care about how they're treating people, but they care that they're not getting what they want. So they might be like, wow, I really need to change. That's It's not this heartfelt, I was a jerk. It was more like I need to change because I'm older. I don't have the looks like I did. Maybe, money isn't as good as it used to be. You lose like the really good people in your life that truly supported you, and your replacement supply of friends. Now that you've lost a lot of your family, um, you haven't put the time into your friends, and you're going to end up alone. And even if you stay in a relationship, you're going to feel alone. The narcissist is going to feel alone. And it's basically two people like tearing each other down. Um, so they'll love bomb you again when they feel their supply is running low. So it feels like love. And then you get caught up in that. And when it starts to slip back down, a lot of times we say, he just like, not question why I cut the crust off my bread. Kind of makes me feel like I always feel like I do something wrong. But if you share too much of yourself, you're not the perfect person anymore. Like, oh, you feel that way? And it's really strange. I was pretty lucky in a sense. Like, it was terrible. It was terrible. But mine weren't like the super abusers. They would do the gaslighting and the mind confusion. There's a lot of crappy stuff they did, but they weren't the horrendous ones. But a lot of times they will leave before you leave. So they feel like they won. They don't have to take accountability. They can trash talk you that it wasn't working out because you did this or that wrong. But if you left them, then it makes them feel like a piece of crap. And they have to tell people. But that's when the lies come in, the smear campaigns. They'll go to great extents to make things up. Looking back on my relationships, the lies that they told, if that's love, I don't know. And to the extent there's times people do lie. Um, it's somewhat human nature. So there's times we kind of need to forgive or understand or talk through it. But the amount of times that they lie and the things that they lie about are so off the wall that they do devalue us. And do you love something that you don't value? And it's so sad because if you have something so precious to you, let's say you have a silver necklace and it gets tarnished, just shine it up. It's still beautiful. It's still worth just as much. You just got to shine it up. And that's what I feel. Relationships are like sometimes they get tarnished, shine them up, do what needs to be done, and you have something so valuable. But they look at it as this tarnished whatever, not worth keeping. Just get rid of it. Not even gonna, it's like they're not even gonna go to the hassle of going to the pawn shop and getting a little bit out of it. They just throw it out, never look back. And that's the part that hurts so much. So if you're wondering if they ever loved you, they desired you. And they couldn't keep up their facade of being the good communicator, the lover. It was about their needs, their supply. And often they do cheat. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Some people might have a huge revelation, but often they repeat their patterns. So with the new supply, they're going to do the same thing. It's just up to the new supply if they tolerate it. Or if your ex just Find something that's easier to replace. And what they're going to lose, are they going to lose their house? Is their house part of their supply that they can brag about their house? If it's a crappy house, they'll probably walk out. If it's a beautiful house, they might stay longer. There's a lot of dynamics in it. But the love that they had was a desire. It was a desire. And it wasn't a true appreciation. It wasn't a need for two-way love. It was a need for their emptiness to be filled with love. So it was one-sided. And that's so hard, because I know you guys really, really loved your person. So love yourself and just keep chugging along. The pain comes and goes, but just be aware of the red flags. They start to invalidate so easily. And sometimes we don't even see it just because of their word patterns, their facial expressions. You know, it would be okay to say, why do you do it that way? But it's the way that they talk to us. And slowly we don't see exactly what's happening until it's too late. And if you are looking, whether it's my videos or somebody else's videos, you probably were with a narcissist. And trying to understand it, you just got to take the facts. Part of it is you're here trying to figure things out. The traits that they have shown you, did they gaslight you? Did they discard you? Did they give you the silent treatment? Did they invalidate you? Did they talk down to you? Did they come to you? How often did they ask about you? And if they did ask about you, did they expand on it? Like, tell me more. Or is it, how was your day? And you start telling them and they're like, I really didn't want to hear all this. I just wanted to hear good. And so you tell them and they're like, oh, really? Or do they talk more about themselves? Are they overly confident? Do they hide their phone? Do they try to pick fights so they can go out with their friends? Are they cordial and let you know, if they're going to be late? Do they uphold their promises to you? So their love was a desire. And once they had you, it's just like saving for a house or a car. Like, you're kind of obsessed with it and you just save and save and save. And once you have that item, you just are like relaxed. Like, okay, cool. And I'm just going to do the minimum. I'm going to pay my electric. Every now and then you're like, okay, I need to save up another 4,000 to do my yard. So you kind of invest. And then you're like, all right, whatever. I got a nice yard, nice house. And then you're just kind of chill. And that's what their relationship is, where they're like, I already invested. All right, now we need a nice yard. Now we need a nice relationship because it's getting rocky. So they'll put a little bit in and then they back off, as opposed to like continually investing. I mean, think about what a relationship could be if you continually invested in it. But they just invest the minimum. Once they have their comfort zone, they just stop investing. And then they expect us to invest, and we do. And they kind of get off on it. They get an excitement, a power over it. And then when we don't do our part, they get irritated because they got used to it. So then once you get used to things, often you expect it. Just like, with the love bombing, we kind of expect that, the late night talks, conversations that last more than 4 minutes. So just something to think about. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to let me know if you have any topics you want to discuss. Let's help and heal one day at a time, and I will see you tomorrow.